Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Today I'm going to share with you my social media commandments, which are the do's and do nots when it comes to social media. And we've been building our business on social media for 7 years. Sold over 4,000, no, that's not true, $4 million worth of sales training. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to connect with you all through social media. I don't have to go on a plane and every single weekend and do speaking events. But I didn't just like come out of the gate understanding how this works. I was the person who, I hate to admit this, first downloaded my first social media app when I had Zoe, and I had nothing better to do on maternity leave except for watch her sleep. And I just took a billion pictures, and every day it would say, "What's your status?" And I would literally put my status, like what I was doing. And it was fine. But it wasn't obviously something that was going to help me connect with people, especially as I decided to, do a business online. So I had to learn it. My business coach, Heather, is amazing and brilliant. I'm so grateful for her for everything. And one of the things that she forced me kicking and screaming to do is learn how to connect with people on social media in a really meaningful way. And I calculated, I probably spent over $20,000 on my social media coaching. And honestly, I am so glad I did. I do not have to run around like a chicken with my head cut off. I've met thousands of amazing people online, and I have found that I can actually be myself, but I had to take some time to figure out who that was. So I'm going to share with you this idea that, there is a right way and a wrong way to do social media. I think most people do it, when they're in the business, they do it the wrong way. And because of that, like our perception of what social media and business is supposed to be is really, really skewed. Because if 75% of people do it in a like spammy, icky way, but that's all we see because such a high percentage of people do that, we think that's how we're supposed to be, instead of understanding that the people that really do well, that we admire and we love and we enjoy following and interacting with, they're not doing what those people are doing. So that's where I think these commandments are going to come in, because unless we philosophically can feel on board with how we show up on social media, the strategy and the action doesn't really matter. So we're going to start here. This is going to be video 1 of 3. We're going to cover the commandments today. Then we're going to cover the strategy, and then we're going to talk about engagement. And we're going to be doing a workshop here pretty soon where we can work together on those things. So, social media commandment number 1, thou shalt be a good human. You can see I'm wearing my Be a Good Human hoodie. And what do I mean by this? I mean that we need to be kind and uplifting and gracious in our social media feed when we're creating things. So this is a given for comments. Like, don't be a jerk, don't be a troll, don't be critical. That's not nice. That is not being, we wouldn't want to receive that. But I really think we need to be the change we want to see in the newsfeed. I think if social media is not fun, we're doing it wrong. And it makes me think of this Bible verse, whether or not that part resonates with you. I just think that there's some wisdom here. And it says, "No, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as good for building up as it fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." So to be a good human on social media would mean to post things that are good for building up and giving grace, not saying, "This is my opinion, like it or not." And it's, giving grace to those who hear, not just those who agree with you. I find it fascinating, after all the times I've been online, how little negative feedback we get. And I think that part of the reason that we do not get very many hate, it is so incredibly, they're like, "I can't believe you're working in a hoodie." Like, that's the kind of hate that we get. And I think it's because when we go to write our social media posts, we do it in a way that no matter who hears it, is going to feel uplifted, and that are going to give people grace, as opposed to being a know-it-all or shaming people or any of those feelings. We do not come to social media to get anxiety. And I remember during COVID, being someone at the time who was on immune suppressants, felt really, really scared about what that, if I got it, what that would mean for me. And I remember scrolling my news feed and literally having anxiety attacks based on what people were saying about what they believed. And I mean, of course, they have their choice, but as far as like, if you're working with me, or if it's me, I'm going to advise you, be a good human and do not post things that are going to give other people anxiety attacks. Like that is not cool. So number one, be a good human. Number two, thou shalt remember that social media is for the user, not for the salesperson. So social media was designed for people to be social. When people, when we sit there and we go to, we grab our phone and we go to one of our apps, or we're on our computers, we're going to be educated. We want to learn new things, because if we learn new things, then our status increases amongst our peers. We want to be entertained, because then we share something entertaining, it increases our status among our peers. And we go to be inspired, because that gives us we see a future status increase possibly. People go to social media ultimately to increase their status. The research is really interesting. And when we go to social media, or if we want to be happy, well, hold on, we'll leave social media out for a second. Well, if we want to be happy, then we basically want to have status that's a little bit higher than everyone we're around. And we are all searching, deep down subconsciously, for an increase in status. Now, no one will say, I go to social media because of status, but they go to social media to increase their status in one way or another. Or because they're bored and they want a little dopamine hit. And so if people are coming for increase in status and dopamine, we need to create our content based on what people will like, as opposed to what we want to do. Social media doesn't exist for the purpose of me selling my coaching programs or my courses. Social media exists because people like to log in and be entertained, inspired, and educated. So I need to remember that. And if I increase my status, then they will, right, that automatically decreases their status. If I decrease my status, that will increase other people's status. And that's an interesting thing to think about when we're on social media. Number three, don't blame, thou shalt, this is commandments. Thou shalt not blame the algorithm if your content stinks. Yes, I get frustrated when the algorithm changes. It throws us off. We get confused. But ultimately, here's how the algorithms work. They are constantly working in order to get content in the feeds of the people who use the social media app that those people like. And so what'll happen is something will work, and all the business people will all share, this is the thing that works, and then it stops working. And one of the reasons it stops working is Facebook's like, wait a second, you guys are trying to cheat the system. You're not making it for the humans. You are trying to beat our programming. And that's a game we're never going to win. It's always interesting how people will complain about how bad the algorithm is. And then there's these other companies that are really great at social media, and they don't have the same issues. We've seen our stuff drop and it's been like, oh shoot. But then what that tells us, when the algorithm messes with our content, what that tells us is that our content has not been resonating with people. And so we actually need to take a step back, and instead of creating for the algorithm, we create for the people, because the algorithm is just a representation of what the people are interested in. So we need to create specifically for the people things that they will like, in order to make the algorithm something that will work for us as opposed to against us. The fourth commandment is thou shalt see and be seen. I remember doing a social media mastermind a while back, and one of our clients, Marie, said something just so powerful. Like halfway through, she's like, I think I get it. I think she was talking about she'd wanted to hire a VA, she wanted to outsource it, she wanted to buy custom graphics and just have someone else post it, and then, make all these sales. And she realized this is what she said. She says, how can I expect people to engage with me if I am not willing to engage with them? And so when we're on social media, we need to see and be seen. We need to be social. We need to not hide our faces behind quotes or product pictures or whatever. We need to see and be seen. We need to engage with people. We need to show up. When it comes to online networking, social media is a replacement for going to business networking events or going to a vendor event or going, right, all of these different places in order to meet people. This is just the online version of it. So could you imagine going to a vendor event and just like covering your face the whole time? That would be ridiculous, but that's what people think that social media is about. It's basically an in-person or an online representation of you in person. Which leads me to number 5, commandment, thou shalt only say what you would say in person. Here's what I mean by that. If I was chatting with you in person, I would not actually just start telling stories about my childhood traumas, or high school traumas is the one I'm specifically thinking of. That's not how I would be in person. So why would I do that online? I'm not going to write a story post or do a video about like the most awful thing that happened to me in high school, because that's not how I would interact in person. That would be a private conversation with someone that I knew really, really well and felt was safe. If I were My coach told me, if you wouldn't talk to a stranger on a plane about it, don't post it on social media. And so that means a few things, right? That means I may not go so far as to share like my deepest, darkest, whatever with a stranger on the plane. I also might not say things that are rude or anxiety provoking, but really I just really think social media is a representation, an online representation of our in-person self. So if you were to meet me out and about, this is who you would meet. This is what I would be wearing. This is how my hair would be. And these are the things we would chit chat about. What are you having for dinner? What are you watching on Netflix? And how is your work or business or whatever? These are things that I'm really interested in. How are your kids doing, right? Like, are they in sports? These are the things that we would talk about in person. So what that means is that those are the things that I would want to talk about online. So number 5, thou shalt only say what you would say in person. Number 6, commandment, thou shalt test and not be attached to the outcome. When people post sporadically, they're like, I'm going to do it, and they work themselves up so much. And then the post doesn't work all that well. Well, social media posting and creation, this is marketing. And we got to test stuff. Some stuff really goes well. Some stuff does not go well. We've had posts that we thought were just going to be amazing and they flopped. And we've had stuff that we thought was going to be whatever. It was an afterthought and it blew up. And what we've realized in being daily posters is after a while, you kind of get desensitized to it. And you're like, that didn't work. I wonder why. We look at it with a clean set of eyes. Or that did work. Let's do more of that. We noticed a few weeks ago that when we would ask people if they wanted some cheat sheets, you guys were like all about it. And so we were like, well, why don't we just do more of that? Because my Facebook Lives are not getting any traction. So maybe we'll do less of that and more of that. Does that mean my Facebook Lives are bad? No, it just means they were failed experiments and we're just going to dial back on that. And if that changes, we'll shift it up a little bit. I think what we want to really think about when we're interacting with people on social media from really a big picture perspective is we want to be creators, not consumers. And as we are creating content in our personal feeds, maybe in our Facebook groups, let's think about, would someone enjoy this? Let's create content based on would they enjoy it versus what do I want out of this thing. And I think it's going to be really helpful I remember a little while ago, someone asked me, how do you know if you should post something on social media? And my filter is, well, is this helpful? Is this helpful to the people that I want to communicate with, right? Does it bring some value to their life? Does it normalize what's happening in their life a little bit? Does it make them smile? Or it would be an interesting conversation that they might be able to get some value from? Does it give them an opportunity to make a joke and feel funny and smart and cool? And if it does, then I'll post it. And everyone can let me know based on their interaction if my theory was correct or not. But I figure if I'm making content with this idea of, is this helpful to someone, then I'm going to be coming from the right place. It's going to be received a lot better than if I'm like, what are the things that I need to post in order to move my business forward? They're kind of the same question, but they come from a different angle. And I think our intention really matters a lot. So just a quick recap of Tasha's social media commandments. Number one, be a good human. Number two, create for the user, not for the salesperson. Number three, thou shalt not blame the algorithm if our content stinks. Number four, thou shalt see and be seen. Number five, thou shalt only say on social media what you would say in person. And number six, thou shalt test and not be attached to the outcome. I hope that this was encouraging to you or helpful for you. I'd love to know which one of these commandments really resonated with you. And remember, this is 1 in 3. So we will keep giving you some more tips on how to make social media work for you. And I'll talk to you soon.